Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you guys so much for the support, and really excited to have all of you guys listening, especially if you're listening as this is going to be released in a month or so, because it's prime off season, prime summer stuff, a lot of great time for reflection and a lot of great time for really thinking about your culture, thinking about what it means to have a winning culture, what it means to establish something that is long lasting, that has good positive habits, all that great culture stuff that I know a lot of you guys are really passionate about, myself included. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about establishing a winning culture, kind of what goes into that, what that looks like, and then ultimately have my guest talk about some of the success that he's been able to have with his program. So if you're a culture person, if you love talking about that aspect of the game or listening to people who are passionate about that aspect of the game, I'm excited to have you joining us here. So I'm really happy to be joined today by the head coach of Camden County High School. Very happy to be joined by Coach David Bailey today. Coach, again, appreciate you being able to come on and talk to us today. How are things going today?
Things are going well, man. Thank you for having me. It's just excited to be here. Excited to talk basketball, man. But just a blessing to be here, and just thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Coach. Let's jump right into you and your basketball journey and your coaching journey. So talk to us about where this great game of basketball has taken you. Where's this coaching journey taken you, and how'd you end up at Camden County?
Yeah, so I want to say this is my 10th year coaching. 10th year coaching. I've been a head coach here. So next year will be my 6th year being a head coach. But I've been coaching basketball, like I said, 10 years. I've coached football. I've coached track. I played college football. So I mean, my sports journey has just been a lot, man. I played basketball in high school, played football in college, and so just it's just taking me a lot of different places, man. But I started off at Glenn Academy. It's a 6A school in Georgia. I was an assistant coach. Well, actually, I started off at the middle school level. So I was a head middle school coach for 1 year. And then I went to, I was assistant coach at Glenn Academy. We had a lot of success there. And then I spent 4 years at Charlton County. My last year, we ended up playing for a state championship. And this was my first complete year at Camden County. So I've coached at three different classification levels as well as the middle school level. So it's just been a journey, man. A lot of experience, a lot of just being in different places and working with different people. So just been a blessing.
And you talked about you've had experience coaching other sports as well, and I always like to talk about coaches who are like multi-sport coaches or have experience in coaching in different background. I'm just curious for you, is there things that you can take from coaching track, from coaching football? Are there elements you can take from that side of coaching that you could then use in a basketball sense?
Oh man, definitely, and not just my coaching experience, my playing experience, but I mean, just being I was a head track coach for 4 or 5 years, and competed for a state championship in those events. And I coached football for 6 years, and we played for a state championship my second year. So just that championship level experience. I've never won one, but just being around different coaches, learning how to work for other guys, and learning things that I want to do, learning some things that I don't want to do, and just
Yeah.
trying to build a culture and a philosophy for myself, because I know as an early coach I didn't really have one. I mean, I think I'm big on learning by experience, learning by failure, and just learning from all those things from all those guys, and just kind of making my own, thing. When I became a head coach. But it's definitely from the football aspect, just the toughness aspect of it, just learning how to be tough, and from the track aspect, just learning how to compete, because track falls back on you. You can't point fingers. But I think just both of those sports helped me to kind of become the type of basketball coach that I want to be today.
Yeah, you can kind of incorporate, right, those big team aspects. You all know football, how much that requires team-wise, and then
Yeah.
the individual aspects of track. It's kind of like basketball's that mixture of both worlds of obviously tons of team aspects, but there's also that time where you got to win that one-on-one matchup, whether it's offensively or defensively, and you kind of draw
So
on both of those sports to kind of give some insight and some coaching regarding that.
yes, sir, definitely, definitely. You're
I,
absolutely correct.
I want to talk before we kind of get into our topic about something that I know you're passionate about, which is the love of analysis and analyzing things. And I want to kind of open that up to where does that kind of fit into your coaching? Where does analysis fit in? What do you like to analyze, or is it all aspects? Are there specific aspects? Talk about where that process of analysis fits into your coaching profile.
Just every aspect of the game. Like I love the film study part of it. I love
Hmm.
the statistics part of it. And so I just think it starts with film study, just trying to know my opponent better than they know themselves. And I mean, I learned that from my football coaches because I was coaching on the offensive side of the ball. And, offensive coaches, they're creatures of habit. So any OC I worked for, when he got to a certain situation or when he got to a certain pivotal point in the game, there was a couple of plays he would always go to. And I just found that very interesting. And so as we were game planning for other teams on the defensive side of the ball, there were certain defenses or certain blitzes that they would always run in certain situations. And
Mm.
no matter like, I mean, I was coaching at the high school level. And so, you don't have a ton of time with kids. It's not like the college or the pro level. And so I just, if you put in enough work, you can begin to learn the patterns, and the game can become easy because you can know what the other opponents want to do, and so you can prepare your kids. And so I just always believe in that philosophy. Like if you can put in more time than your opponent, or if you can put in an insane amount of like film study, you can almost create a pattern for yourself. And once you can teach your kids those patterns, they can play fast, they can know what's coming, you can know what situations to expect. And so I just believe that's everything. And also on the basketball court, just like just trying to find out. I mean, we keep shot charts, we keep all those things.
Mm.
Where are we
Yep.
shooting from? What plays work in what situations? What are we shooting better from the right side of the court, left side of the court? Like my team this year, we were very, very efficient in the corner for whatever reason. And so just trying to learn those tendencies and then attack those tendencies, and just trying to attack what the team does. If a team likes to shoot a certain amount of threes, okay, run them off the 3-point line. If they like to play in the post, okay, let's try to keep the ball out the post and make them play through their guard. So I just think film study and analysis is essential to what you're doing, because once your kids can be comfortable and play fast, I believe you're more likely to have success.
And to that point, I completely agree with that. I know as a coach, and this is something I had to learn really quickly is how much my players maybe didn't understand the game that well. Maybe they played
Yeah.
it a lot, but maybe they really didn't understand it conceptually or understand a lot of tendencies or the basic X's and O's. And I found, and I'm sure you could speak to this too, that once players really understood what was really happening, really how the game is played and what's actually happening on the court, I noticed that my players got so much faster. They were able to react quicker, they were able to act quicker. Everything just got so much quicker for them once they kind of understood what was going on. And I'm sure that must have been the same case for you.
Yeah, because in Camden County, our football team went to the Final Four, so it's really a football town. And so
Hmm.
like we don't have the Division I basketball player per se, but we have a lot of great athletes who are football players, and we got basketball guys sprinkled in there. And so I think film study is even more important because we don't get a lot of our guys back until mid to late December. And so just learning how to, okay, look, guys, we're playing guys who are going to be really good basketball players, and so we need to figure out how to attack those guys. This guy doesn't like to go left. When this guy goes right, he's going to shoot it here. So let's like I want in basketball, I think you can kind of dictate what the other team does if you study, if you can break it down. So I want teams to take the shot that we want them to take, or if a team is a heavy zone team, we want to try to turn that zone into a man. Or if a team wants to press and wants to play fast, okay, we want to attack the gaps that the press gives us so that we can have the advantage. So it's all about getting the advantage, and I just believe if you know what's coming, you can be better prepared, and you're never going to be 100% prepared. But I just believe coaches are creatures of habits. Because I mean, me myself, man, there's some. I study myself, and so in certain situations, there's certain plays that I'm going to run, and so I try to break those tendencies. But a lot of times, it's kind of who you are, and you can't
Yeah,
really break.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say it's kind of the same, like what you just said. You can reverse that. It's like, wait, what do I like to get into? What are my tendencies
Yes,
that other people can see on film? And you have to, and to your point, right? You have to almost actively kind of work against that and be like, okay, like I know I'm being too predictable, or I know that this is what they think, so I got to like really consciously think about how we're going to do something different. And like that, it's let's like that chess match that you talked about. For all the film that you have on others, there's probably just as much, if not more, film on you. So everybody's kind
Exactly.
of doing the same thing, right? They're all analyzing each
Exactly.
other. Yeah, absolutely. Talk all right about culture as we kind of shift into this idea of establishing a winning culture. Let me ask you, because everyone has their own definition, everybody has their own kind of mindset as to what culture is. What does culture mean to you when it comes to an athletic program?
And I'm not a big guy who has like things written down. I just think
Hmm.
it's a way of life. But if I had to pick one word, I think it's discipline. And I just think that's something we don't like. I call it non-negotiable. I heard Kirby Smart say that a lot, but it's a non-negotiable. Like, you're going to be disciplined in the classroom, you're going to be disciplined in the weight room, you're going to be disciplined on the court. And I tell my guys all the time, like, everybody can't play for David Bailey because you're going to do things a certain way. Like, we're going to have on the same shoes, we're going to have on the same socks, we're going to have on the same tights. I'm cool with headbands and armbands, but whatever we're going to do, we're going to look the exact same. Like, the coaching staff is going to look the same, the players are going to look the same. We're going to run in and off the court. Like, they're just we're going to sit together before the game, and that's my culture. Discipline. Nobody's better than the culture. Uh, I say this all the time to my coaching staff. Like, you can't be a great coach if you're not a great teacher. I've never met a great coach who's not a great teacher. I've met
Hmm.
good coaches who are good teachers. I've met bad coaches who are bad teachers, but I've never met a great coach who's I've never met a great coach who wasn't first a great teacher. And so
Hmm.
I just think that's part of the culture. What are you doing when no one's looking? How are you handling situations? Like, I mean, I'm a father, so like, I have to be disciplined in every aspect of my life. And I try to tell my players the same thing. Like, listen, if I can't trust you in the classroom, I can't trust you on the court. If I can't trust you
Right.
in the weight room, I can't trust you on the court. And just trying to be elite in every single aspect and just holding people accountable and just not being afraid to lose. And I hate saying, like, because I don't kick kids off the team, but a lot of times, like, we'll lose a couple of kids throughout the years because they're just not meeting the culture of discipline that we're trying to
Sure.
set. But just being a leader, and just, if I had to pick one word that kind of defines our culture, is discipline.
And with that, as you just mentioned, how there's, some people who may not buy in, or some people who may not make it, for a lack of a better term. Let me talk about, since you just kind of beginning this journey at Camden County, what was that process like of explaining to your guys, hey, this is the way that, we're going to dress, this is the way that we're going to be acting, these are the expectations of that discipline that you talked about. Was that a easy process for them to buy into? How did your guys respond to this kind of new way of doing things for them?
No, it's never easy. It's actually kind of one of the hardest parts of my job, because I think, like, I love these kids. Like, I'll go back. So I was at Charlton my first years.
Okay.
I was at I was my first head coaching job was at Charlton County. I was there for 4 years, and those first 2 years we just weren't really good. I think we were 11-13 my first year and 11-15 my second year, and they were just always they would just turn around and just just losing kids because they weren't meeting the standard. And then my last 2 years, we were 22-8 that third year. We won the region, went to the second round, first playoff, like, victory in like 20 some years. And then my
Uh,
my my, my last year there, most wins in school history, 29-3, and lost in the state championship game by 5. And so it's always hard at first. This is my second stint at a new school. I mean, this is, like I said, Camden County has always been known for their football prowess. They've won multiple football state championships, but basketball hasn't won a playoff game in 40 years now, about 40 years. And so,
wow.
we're trying to get over the hump. But to win 21 games in my first year, we lost a lot of guys this year, and we lost a lot of we lost a lot of guys, man. And and it's hard because you love these guys and you want these guys to be around, but uh you just realize that some guys are just not going to buy into that culture, and it's not easy. Like, I mean, we work hard, we work extremely hard, and like every phase of the game, from like our practices are harder than the games, and some
Okay.
guys just don't want to show up every single day in practice hall, and guys get held accountable. I'm not afraid to call out myself first. I'm not afraid to call out my coaching staff. I'm not afraid to call out my players, and we just want to create a culture of discipline and accountability. And it's hard, man, and guys don't buy in. And the way it was in Charleston, I'm praying it's the same way here. Every year it got easier because I mean the standard was the standard, and guys started kind of policing themselves, if it made sense. But this year was tough, man. This year was tough because even though we were winning, even though we were having success, it was hard, man. Because I was trying to create a new culture, and it was tough. It was definitely tough. Still
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. And with that, I think that's something for a lot of coaches to kind of, think about or reflect on, right? Is if they're gonna try and put in the new culture, whether it's discipline or whatever the case, whatever they want to define their culture as. I think that culture is only as good as like when it first gets tested by somebody, when somebody's going to
Yes.
push back against it or really challenge. It sounds all nice in preseason meetings and everyone's good, but then,
But
to your
once you
point,
really
right,
get out
somebody's going to
there,
show up late, somebody's not going to be there all the time, somebody's going to make that mistake or not follow through the way they should, and it might even be your best player or your best two players, and then it's like, okay, what do you do then? And that's where I think, you really face those challenges. But if you stick to it, which I can definitely tell you stick to that culture, you're willing to, make those, whether it's sacrifices or, players might not meet the expectation, but hopefully after that, gets tested a few times and guys realize, oh, like coach is really serious about this and he's treating us all the same way, then like you said, hopefully then they start policing themselves.
they start policing themselves. I'm a big quote guy. Like I love Nick Saban. I listen to Kirby Smart. I listen to a lot of these different coaches,
Hmm.
and I don't have the exact quote, but somebody said, judge me by the content, judge me by the character of my enemies. And I'm not saying I have enemies, but I can honestly say like guys who love playing for me are the guys who love the work, guys who love the grind, guys who are not afraid to be coached, afraid to be called out. And guys who have left my program are, generally are just guys who just don't want to work every day. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm not. I don't like losing kids, man, and I
Yeah,
wish I could.
sure.
I wish every kid could play for me, but generally the guys who don't make it in our program are guys who just don't love the work, or guys who don't love the intensity, guys who don't love to be called out, guys who just aren't here for the long run. And I think that's a part of it, man. I mean, you show me any great program, I guarantee you, like they can show you guys who left because they just weren't meeting the standard. And we're not looking for that, but that's a part of it. And leadership is sacrifice. Like leadership is accountability, and you got to be able to take. Sometimes you got to be able to take some of those things, man, because sometimes you have parents who come at you. You have certain situations that that try to attack your character. But if you know you're doing the right thing, if you know you're doing the best for your kids, like eventually it would all work itself out. But I just think in the beginning, because so many coaches talk about winning. And if you my goal is not, of course the goal is always to win, and I want to win championships, but I want to create men too, and I want to create
Hmm.
fathers, and I want to create husbands, and I want to create people who are make difference in their community. And a lot of times like that's not easy. You see what I'm saying? And so
Yeah, no.
and that comes with struggle. I'm a believer in struggle. Like if once you learn how to struggle, you know what I'm saying, then you can learn how to win. But you can't appreciate winning until you first lose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and to that point, because no, I completely agree that it is a process, right? It is a struggle, even for the guys that buy in and to the cult to the your culture and everything. They're going to struggle. That's just the nature of the
Yes.
way that your programs run and your culture. But that struggle and that process is where ultimately that greatness comes from, whether it's on the court or off the court. Like the process that you're looking at for these guys is way long term. It's beyond, just that season or anything like that. You're looking
Yes.
at where you want them to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, the rest of their life. And, for that to happen, you know that this is the way this program has to be run, because I know that's going to pay off for you when you're an adult because of the habits that hopefully you're building just being a part of this team.
Yeah, true, man. And it's just also it's always it's all about development. Like,
Hmm.
you know, you don't want to stay the same. Like every day how can I be a better coach? And I want my players thinking, okay, how can we be better players? And the only way you can decide to do that is you got to look at yourself, and you got to tell yourself, like, I'm not there yet. Like
Yeah.
there's areas in which I can be better, and there's areas in which I have to improve. And once you can honestly look at yourself and see, like, okay, I'm not good in this area. How can I improve? Like, that's when you can allow yourself to be better. And as a coach, it's not your job. I mean, yes, you want to point out the good that your players are doing, but I think people grow when you point out the mistakes they're making, when you point out their shortcomings, because if a player can fix his shortcomings on top of what he's already good at, now you become a more elite, complete player. And I think it takes a special person, it takes a special staff to be able, even especially the great ones, to call out your great players and say, listen, you're great in this area, but you're not good in this area. And in order for us to be a championship level team, you need to fix this. And that's not hard, man, because man, you love these kids, man, and it's hard.
Yeah, no, because you could definitely, and that's like that balancing act. I wonder if you ever get into where it's like you always want more. You're always pushing for more. You're always asking for more. You're always demanding more. That players can feel like,
Yeah.
man, coach doesn't even like me. Coach is always on me. Never says anything positive about me. They keep pushing. They keep pushing. They keep pushing. And I know for me, I've had to, take a step back and talk to some of my girls and tell them like, look, I'm on you as much as I am because I know where you can go and you're good for where you are right now, but
Yeah.
I know how great you could be, and I'll tell my players like once I stop getting on you, that means I've given up on you, and
I
trust me,
don't
you
care.
don't want that to happen. So I've
True.
been there before. I've been there before.
Yeah, man. It's
So
and that's
I
not,
wanted to
yeah,
ask about then. Let me ask about your practices. So when you think about the way that you run your practices, how do your practices emphasize what it is that you expect out of your culture? How do your practices reflect that culture that you're trying to establish?
and that's a great question, man. That's something we're continuing to work to. But every practice is scripted, so every practice is scripted. We go about 2 hours during the season. Summertime we go about 2.5 hours. But just playing fast. There's not a lot of downtime. We don't do anything slow. We try to shift from offense to defense, especially. We try to shift through things
Mhm.
quickly. We try to make our practices game oriented. I'm a big Reggie Bush fan at USC, and I was trying to do my research because I was like, when USC was at the heyday, like how did he get Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and Lindell White and all those superstars? Like how did he get those guys to practice? And Pete Carroll was just like, man, he just made practice competition, and so we're big on making we make our practices competitive. There's a winner and a loser. I mean, there's always a winner and there's always a loser and there's always a consequence for losing. So, we may be doing a drill, we may be doing like an offensive period to where, we're going 5-on-5 and we're running a specific set to the team we're going to be playing. And, I'll get a team, my other coach will get a team, my other coaches will be reffing. And, if you win, you go get water. And if you lose, you get on the line and you run. And it's not even about the running. I want my guys to hate losing more than they love winning. Like if we're
Yeah.
doing a shooting drill, we're on the clock, it's timed. And if you win, you get water. If you lose, you got 25 push-ups. And I just think like there's like my guys have to understand like there's a winner and there's a loser. And if I don't win, I get fired. And if y'all don't win, there's gonna be consequences. You may lose playing time. And so there's just a constant edge. Like everything we do, like we want to play fast on offense. We want to be super aggressive on defense. We're going to blitz every screen. We're going to switch aggressive. In transition, we're pushing. And so, because we're like Camden County, we're super athletic. And so everything is fast, everything is competition, everything is up tempo. If you go get water, sprint to the water and sprint back. And it prepares us for the games because I mean, that's how we practice for 2 hours every single day. And a lot of times, when we get into games, by the fourth quarter, we just start kind of pulling away because our discipline and just that competitive nature we have in practice every day. So that's a great question, man. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, like you hit the nail on the head. I think about you want your practices to be more difficult than games are, where like
Yeah.
nothing that happens in a game is faster than what you've expected in practice, or even really even more like competitive. Because it sounds like your guys, it's we're getting after it. Like every day is like a war out there on the practice court where they're gonna leave like wiped out, exhausted, competitive with each other, but when that game comes, I imagine when your guys go out there, you kind of feel like, all right, they're prepared for this, they're ready for this. The moment isn't going to be too big for them because this is all that we've been doing in practice at a higher speed than what they're even doing in a game.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And it's just it's actually fun, man, because practices are hard, but the guys who buy into practicing hard, because I'm not going to say that everybody practices hard every single day. Like
Hmm.
as a program, that's what we have to get to. But the guys who take it serious are the guys who have success, and so I just think that's fun, man, because like we make like I think the most proud moment I have as a coach is, we got Elias Williams. He's the number one tight end in the country. So we get schools from all over the country who come in and, look at practice and watch practice. And, they every coach who comes in there says, Coach, you guys practice hard. He said, Coach, we've been a lot of places, but you guys practice hard. Like guys are diving on the ground. Guys are like, getting chippy, and guys are competing. And that's my biggest thing. We're not going to win. Like my goal is a state championship. We're not going to win a state championship every year. But if my guys are competing, like if my guys are playing hard, if my guys are getting after it, like we're going to be in almost every game. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's our edge. Like I want our guys to have an edge, and I want our guys to play with the edge. I want our guys to be able to win on the road, at home. You know what I'm saying? In different type of arenas, a different type of environment. So it's our job as coaches to make practice as challenging as we can, and just to make our guys play with the edge. I think anybody who's ever played with me just has a confidence, because we try to instill confidence to our players. Like, man, I don't care if LeBron James is across. I don't care if we got to go play the Lakers. Like, we're going to win. Like, that's the mindset. And if we lose, we lose. But we're going in there to win, and that edge comes from practice.
And to that point of what you said about, look, like obviously, would it be great to win a state championship, state title every year? Like, yeah, obviously, but realistically, right? That's most likely not going to be happening. But it's even I've said to my girls before, if we're gonna if we're gonna end up losing games, and trust me, we do lose games. If we're gonna lose games, it's not going to be because we didn't practice hard enough. At least
Yeah.
that can never be the reason why. It can never be like, oh, we could have done more in practice that would have helped us win that game. I think for a coach listening, as long as, you know, that's something that you always know. Like you can always know, like, hey, if we got beat because there was more talent or they executed or whatever the case may be, that's one thing. But to feel like maybe that you could have been doing more in your practice and that's what made you fall short. I think for me as a coach, that's something I would never want to have to like live with or deal with.
True, man. And that's, I mean, it's just like, right, because why are we coaching? We're coaching because we have a competitive nature, we have a competitive edge. And so the number one reason, like, I love coach. I love my kids. Like, my son plays ball. I love ball, all type of ball. But
Hmm.
I don't care if we're playing checkers. I don't care if we're playing chess. Like, I'm not just trying to beat you. I'm trying to destroy you. And the thing that keeps me going is, when I walk on that court for a game, is the opportunity that, there's a possibility that we can lose. And I think that's what drives all the great ones. That's what drives the great players. I think that's what drives the great coaches. That, listen, man, winning is not guaranteed. And I think basketball is so much similar to life, because winning is not guaranteed in life either, man. And you can work as hard as you want to work. You can prepare as hard as you want to prepare. If that ball is not going in that net, you're probably not going to win. And so I just love the fact that no matter how much film I watch, no matter how prepared my kids are, if we don't go out here and execute, and if we don't go out here and play well, we're going to lose. And so that's what drives you, man. Because like I coach football, and football, if you got 11 guys who are better than the other 11 guys, you got like an 80% chance to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's like football is just, I mean, if you got dudes over there, like basketball, if you got 5 guys who play hard and play together, you can beat some of the top teams in the country. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I just think that's what's so special about the game of basketball. You don't have to have all these 5-star prospects. Like, you got to be better than one team in high school for 32 minutes. And so, like you said, just that competitive edge, and knowing that, listen, if I don't go out here and do what I need to do the best to my ability, like we can lose. And that I think that drives me as a coach. And that's what makes it fun, man. That's like, I get nervous, but like guys who say they don't get nervous, man, they're lying. Like, I get nervous before every
So
game,
it's like,
man.
are
'Cause
you even
I just
alive at that point if you don't
yeah,
get nervous,
man.
right? Like you have a pulse.
Yeah.
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 And to your point though, like it's one of those it's a really cool like thing to kind of think about as coaches, and maybe we know it in the back of our mind, but it is that idea, like you said, of like there's a winner and there's a loser. Like in my job as a teacher, I don't have as clear cut of an idea of like, did I win or did I
Yeah, I
lose at the end
win.
of when I'm
Yeah.
teaching? But you're out there on a court, like there's a scoreboard that says, okay, there was a winner and there was a loser, and there's, the results are what they are, and you got to do something with that sort of thing. And I think that's really, that's one of the great things about coaching is there's a definite result at the end that we got to live with and move forward with.
Yeah, and I just think it's life, man, because life, there's no I I'm not big on moral victories, like and you know in life there's winners and there's losers. Like when you go apply for a job, and when two people are going to apply for the job, only one person gets the job. And so, what are you going to do to separate yourself? Like, what is going to be your own personal culture? Like, what defines you? And that's why coaching football, you would have 100 guys out there. I coach running backs, so I can make my running backs be like emulate my culture. But as far as the whole team, there's a lot of different variables in that. But basketball, you got 12 guys, at the varsity level, and so those guys can emulate you, and those guys can be you. And I mean, you just like something small. Anytime we travel, I don't let my guys wear slides or Crocs. And that's something my grandma told me a long time ago. You never know when you're driving somewhere, you might have to push, you might have to change a tire. And I just think, when you see my guys on the road, we got on the same jumpsuit, but we all got on tennis shoes because we're not. This is a business trip. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we put on suits, and I just think it's we generally play well on the road because I think our focus level is just different. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think those are cool things that you can kind of, put into your kids and put into your program.
Yeah, no, definitely 100% agree. Talk about how you feel that your culture has kind of helped, push the on the court success. So I want to what I want to ask you about this is thinking about this past year. When did you kind of see that the culture was kind of paying off in how they were doing on the court? Were there games where you kind of noticed it? Were there situations where you're like, okay, we're moving on in the right direction? I can tell that we're going where we want to be. How did that kind of work this past year?
Um, that's another great question, and I'm trying to think about it as I talk. But so from a talent standpoint, we had 3 Division I football players on our team. We had 3 Division I football players on our team. One's going to Georgia, one's going to East Carolina, one's going to Appalachian State, and we had 2 kids signed for basketball scholarship. One's going to Albany State, and one's going to ABAC. So this was a really talented team, and so we started off the year like I want to say we was like 12-1, and we were really just winning off talent. And like I knew I was like, guys, like we can't keep playing like this because we weren't executing, we weren't being very disciplined, just weren't being very consistent as a team. And so we played I want to say it's Lake Mineola out of Florida. We played them in a Christmas tournament. And we were up the whole game. We were kind of just weren't and they had some bigs, they had some really good guard play. And we were very similar talent-wise, and so we were up like 10. But the fourth quarter, we just saw that lead diminish, and we ended up losing by 1. And I kind of saw the guys like I like it didn't hurt them. You know what I'm saying? Like they were hurt that we lost, but by the time we got back to Camden, it was just like, all right. And that's when like that was my teaching moment. Like, listen, guys, like you guys are not you guys are too comfortable with losing. You're way too comfortable with losing. Like I couldn't sleep. I'm a coach. I didn't want to eat. I couldn't sleep. So I understood. Like, and I wasn't expecting them to be like that, but it had to mean more. And I remember the next game we lost, like, I was like, okay, because we lost 7 games this year and we had a lot of success early. So it was kind of like, false, like Nick Saban called it rat poison, but we had a lot of that early. But that second game we lost, it was like, I was like, okay, like this team got a chance. You see what I'm saying? Because it started like losing, like man, because it's winning is easy, man. Like I'm not like to be happy after a win is easy. You know what I'm saying? Because you won, but it's hard. Like after a win or loss, I like all that stuff is the same to me. A win or loss is the same. How can I learn? And I think the kids, they started learning, okay, what it is. Okay, we won, but we didn't do this. Okay, we lost. You know what I'm saying? How can I make sure I'll never feel like this again? And they started hating losing, and they started hating losing in practice. And I think once the guys started hating losing, like things started to change. And we're not there yet as a program, culture wise, but that was one of the biggest, like, proudest moments I saw when losing started to really matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's something that I think we sometimes don't think about, hey guys, as coaches, because as you mentioned, right, we're so competitive. We want it, for our players to win, and we want to put them in a position to be successful and for it to matter to them. And then when there's a loss, you know, as coaches, we kind of will think about it or we'll kind of dwell on it, but yet maybe sometimes we think our players do. But then to your point, right? You could like look at them on the bus or something, and be like, wait a minute, y'all are, you know, you're joking around and you're just sort of like you already forgot about it, and it's like you've already moved past it. It's like, wait, like, does that mean you're all right with it? You expected to lose? Like, as a coach, I know that could drive me crazy because I'm like, man, why are we putting all this work in just for you to just be smiling and joking after we lost, like
Exactly.
it was no big deal, sort of thing, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
man. That's yeah, definitely.
So for for you then now, so what I think you mentioned it, but I want to make sure I ask specifically. So after that moment, what was the noticeable change that you saw? Was it in the way that they practiced, the way that they were competing each other at practice? What was that kind of shift that you noticed after you kind of realized that hey, they were getting a little too comfortable with losing?
I think it was just the mentality because like I told you, like
Mhm.
practicing hard, that's a non-negotiable. Like you're going to practice hard. But I think it started because I always tell my guys, like I have a great group of kids. They love to get in the gym. Coach, open up the gym, open up the gym. And I didn't have a problem with it at first, but when I noticed I would go in the gym and watch them working out, like they're not doing it hard. And I would tell the guys, yeah, you're here at 5 a.m. in the morning, but you're not working hard. You're not even sweating. And so I was like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. I said, if you spend 5 hours in this gym, but you're shooting the wrong way, you're not holding your form, you're not breaking your wrist over the rim, you're not handling, you're not putting yourself in positions to struggle, then you're not getting any better. And I don't and I saw the guys go from practicing hard because coaches making you practice hard to practicing hard because it means something. You see what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
that was one of the biggest changes I saw kind of maybe about mid-season in January. Like guys really like, okay, doing what I asked, not because I'm telling them, but because they understand for us to be a championship level program, this is what it's going to take. Like I said, Camden hadn't won a playoff game in 37 years, and now 38 years. So we're trying to do something that hasn't been done in 40 years. And so, definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. And it's just the way we work. It's not how you work, because everybody works, everybody trains, everybody lifts weights. But what are you going to do differently? That's going to
Right.
separate yourself. And I think we started to separate ourselves because we started working different. It was the same intensity level, but just different. You know what I mean?
Well, when it's always different, I think, when it's the players who don't need to be reminded or they don't need to be told. They're the ones who are, like you mentioned before, right? Holding each other accountable. They're the ones who understand without being told what hard work is, what it means to actually get in a good workout or a good practice in. When they don't need that reminder, they don't need that example. Like, I think as a coach, there's just so much more you can do because you know that okay, they understand what level we need to be competing and practicing at. So there's a lot more I can do with these guys because I don't need to explain the expectation for how hard they got to work.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
So you mentioned it a couple times earlier, but I want to ask you specifically throughout the season, or maybe in previous seasons that you've coached. You can kind of talk about either situation as the season's gone on. When did you come to those situations where players or anyone kind of tested that culture? Or maybe you had that moment of like, okay, you're trying to see if I'm really about that. I'm really going to hold you accountable to this standard. What were those moments kind of like where that culture was tested, and how did your team, or how did you kind of pass that test or show that like, hey, this I mean what I say, and this is how we're going to do things.
Yeah, and every year there's a situation, but I had a certain situation this year, and
Hmm.
I mean, and it's funny because he's one of my, I mean, I'm not gonna say his name, but he'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But he turned into one of the leaders of my team. But I mean, great athlete, freak athlete, great player, and just a great kid. A great kid, and had a lot of success. And so, he was a starter for me. He was one of my main guys, and we were leaving at a certain time. And I'm big on, anytime we leave, we want to do a little shoot around. We want to go over some things. And so I was like, hey,
Hmm.
look, guys, I need you guys here at this time. I need you guys here at this time. And there's situations that happen, like call and let me know. But I mean, this player did not show up at this time. And, my assistant, because one assistant coach came with me from my old school. So he already knew kind of what what I was about to do. But my other coaches were looking like, and not just the coaches, the players, because this is one of our best guys, and he showed up about 15 minutes late, and we hadn't left yet, and we were going over some things, so he went to get dressed, and I was like, hey, love you, go home, and I kind of left it there, and my other assistant coach just went right back to work, but the kids and my other two coaches were kind of looking like, coach, man, we need that kid because we were playing a really tough team. We were playing a team out of state. It was one of playing an out of state team who's very tough. We were going over there, and honestly, I was like, in my mind, I was like, yeah, we're not going to win without him. But I didn't care. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And we left him, and I think that showed not only my players but my other coaches that, all right, coach talks it, but he really means it. And we end up winning. I think we won in overtime. We won by like one. And I just remember that the next week when he came back, he was just like, man, coach, I ain't never been left in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and he didn't start, like he had to earn a starting job back and all that. But I mean, he ended up being first team all region. He was one of my best players. I mean, he was always one of my best players, but I just think that's because he was a senior. And so he didn't really know me. And like, that's when I earned his respect. It was like, okay, like if coach will leave me, he'll leave anybody. And I hated doing it. And I'm telling you, like, I never showed it, but the whole way to that game, I was like, man, I wish I could have that kid. But I think if you're gonna preach coaching, if you're gonna preach discipline, there's gonna come a time to where you're gonna have to actually stand on it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat. I tell my son all the time, he's 11, he's a very good player, and I said, son, you try that, you're gonna be home too. So I just think it's there's been other situations, but that's kind of been the freshest one recently, man. And I'm glad we won, but it was hard, and we gutted out a win. And I think for the biggest surprise to me was not the players. I think my other coaches, they saw that and they were just like, okay, coach, like, we're gonna get behind you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's, to me, even if you hadn't won that game, right? It's long term, right? You look at that
Yeah.
long term and you say this situation, this situation where it's being tested, I'm standing my ground because this is what I said we were going to do. And now, to your point, like you mentioned, because of that situation, everybody knows now. Like there's going to be no more testing. There is going to be no more questions about it. Everyone's going to make every effort it is that they can show on time, because maybe it was a short term, in that moment, a difficult thing to do. But then when you think about how it pays off in the long run, now that everybody knows that you're serious, then it works out so much better now.
Yeah, man. And I tell kids all the time, like, man, choose your hard. Like, being skinny is hard. I mean, it's being fat is hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard. Like, because being fat is hard because you're gonna get picked on, you know what I'm saying? And being skinny is hard because you gotta eat a certain way. You gotta work out. And so what side of hard are you gonna be on? Because no matter what you do in life, it's gonna be hard, but you have to choose your hard. And it's hard to be disciplined, but it's also hard to be undisciplined. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
what do you want? What's your level of hard? And the greatest guys I've ever coached are the guys who not only like hard, they accept it. Like they love it. They love the challenge of, okay, this is hard. What I ask, like, we in practice every single day with a Sweet 16. They got a minute to make a Sweet 16. And I do that for a reason because, it's easy to make a Sweet 16 at the beginning of practice, but we don't leave practice until every single person on that team makes the Sweet 16. And if somebody doesn't make it, you go stand on the side and you watch the other guys run. And there's times we had to run 5 Sweet 16s. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Yeah.
like, either get in shape or watch your teammates struggle. And that's hard. And that's hard. And I've lost guys because they're like, coach, we're not doing that. And I say, hey, man, I love you, but if you're going to be on my team, that's what you got to do. And so you just got to, I think if the coach that wins is the coach that teaches his guys hard. And the guys that fall in love with hard are the guys who usually have success, whatever that success is.
Yeah, and you want to create that, like you said, create that culture of those guys who are going to accept it. And like, to your point, right? There's going to be sacrifice, especially that first year. There's going to be sacrifices that you're going to have to make, especially like you said, in a program that hasn't won a playoff game in so long. There's probably been different expectations before you, or different standards before you. So you're coming in trying to completely change that. There's going to be
Yeah,
people who, they may not accept it, they may not buy in, they may not understand why things are being done that way, but that's part of that growth process, right? Growth is painful. Growth
yeah,
requires change. And as a coach, if you got that, you know belief about how you want things to run and the standards you want your program to run, then you're going to accept kind of those growing pains or some of those challenges that come with it.
I agree, man. I mean, it's I would be lying to you if I said this year was easy, man, because I mean,
Hmm.
like you said, and trying to do something that hasn't been done in 40 years, it just, sometimes parents get this sense of entitlements they want their kids to, because I'm going to play the best players, and I don't believe in playing 12 guys. I mean, I believe you play your best. I saw something on Twitter the was X now that, championship teams play 6 or 7 guys. You know what I'm saying? And I
Hmm.
truly believe that, man, because in the 30, I mean, it's, a high school is 32 minutes. So, NBA is, I think, college is 40, NBA is 48. So you're talking about 32 minutes. You want to keep your best guys on the court as much as you can. And I believe in playing 7, at the most 8 guys. And so you got 4 guys who aren't playing, and so there's competition every single day. And you have to earn a spot. Like, I don't have starting spots. You got to earn that every single day in practice. And just because you started on Tuesday doesn't mean you're going to start on Friday. And a lot of times, parents will feel like, my kid's a senior, my kid's earned this. My kid. No, man, I don't care what grade you are. I don't care how good you are. The kids that buy into the system and the kids that are consistent, those are the kids that are going to play. And that's hard, man. Like,
Yeah.
winning is hard, man. I mean, it's all hard. So once again, you got to choose your heart.
Talk about, as you touched on there, about parents and what that process has been like. I'm sure as you're, talking to the parents and coming into the program, letting them know how things are going to be under you as the head coach, there had to be some growing pains maybe with parents, or some things that you had to talk to parents about. What was that like this past year? These conversations that you had with parents about, what the expectations were for the program.
And I think it's just like I go back to Charleston, like my first year, like, it was hard. There was a lot of a lot of meetings, but my last year there was little to none. You know what I'm saying? And I just think, like parents, you have to be honest with your kids. Like, everybody wants the best 4 players in their child to play. Like, I've never met a parent who doesn't think their child is one of the best. And so, like, I I have to take a step back and look at, okay, I'm not doing what's best for their child. I got to do what's best for the team. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I just think entitlement and selfishness is cancer to the program, and you have to cut that stuff off. And I just think you got to keep an open communication line. But, I tell my parents all the time, like, I'm going to love your kids, but I'm not here to be your friends or your kids' friends. Like, I'm here to be their coach. And that's not always easy, man. My practices are closed. We have closed practices. We try to be a family oriented, and that family does not always include the parents. Of course, we want y'all coming to the games, but that it's like the immediate family is the team, and we have to
Yeah.
function together. And if the kid goes home and the parents like, listen, why are you not taking more shots? Why are you not doing more of this? Why are you not doing more of that? Like, that's all stuff that separates us. And I'm big on unity, man. But I think it's hard sometimes, because usually if the kid's selfish, it's the parent. Or if the kid has a bad attitude, it's not the kid, it's what he's hearing at home. And so but that's something you got to work through. I mean, I coach. I have a 11-year-old son who plays ball, and so even myself, sometimes I have to take a step back, because I never get involved in what he's doing. But I think it's easy sometimes to say, okay, my son should be doing this or that, but that's not
Yeah.
my program. You see what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. I get it on both sides, man. But I just think you have to set clear expectations with the parents. Like, listen, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what kind of car you drive. I don't care what kind of ties you have. Like, this is my team, and the best kids are going to play. And usually, as the years go on, like, parents respect that. Like, they don't always like it, but they usually respect it. So I mean, as a leader, it's just something you have to deal with.
Yeah. And exactly. I 100% agree with what you said, that it's, you know, uh, and I understand it too, and I'm sure you do, right? To the players, right? The parents, right? To the parents, their player's going to be the most important person, and they're going to, be looking out for them, asking a lot of questions, advocating for them because it's their child. But you as a coach have to look at the program as a whole. Like, your
Yes.
view on things are a lot different, and I think sometimes there a lot of disagreements can kind of come from the fact that where you're coming from is kind of the whole program of which that player is a part of, and the parents, they're looking at it like, this is what I want my player to do, and maybe forget everybody else, like, this matters the most that you do this with my player. And as a coach, I know I've had to kind of kind of like to what it is that you mentioned about kind of realize, okay, I know where this parent's coming from. They're coming from the fact that they want to advocate for their child, that they're not focusing on the whole team. They're not focusing on everything that we're trying to do here. This is their viewpoint of things, and like understanding that my viewpoint is different than theirs. And I know why I'm doing the way that things are, because I'm looking out for the whole program, not just one person's interest.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's definitely a balancing act. And I just think you have to like realize what people are, because you get your feelings hurt sometimes, and
Yeah.
people will say stuff about you, but you gotta be confident in yourself. Like I tell my
Yep.
parents all the time, like, because we always meet my parents at the beginning of the year. Like, if there's an issue, man, call me. Don't go on Facebook. Don't go on social media. Like I just like, that's one thing I don't tolerate in my program, because I'm very approachable. You can talk to me and just come talk to me, man, because there's going to be disagreements. Like in any type of team aspect, whether you're working in the corporate world, whether you're wherever you are, like there's going to be disagreements. So like because how we handle those disagreements are going to affect the type of success we have. So don't go to Facebook, don't dog me out on social media, man. Just come talk to me. And
Yep.
the state championship team I had a couple of years last year, like we didn't have any of that stuff, man. We really didn't have any of that stuff. it was
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it was just team oriented, and guys stuck together, the parents stuck together, like the parents were one. And I think that's rare, because I've been coaching 10 years and I only had that 1 year. And so, but I just look forward to, because it's every year is a challenge. Every year has its own challenge. Every year is something different. But as a leader, and I think that's why it's so hard to be a coach sometimes, because you get the good, you get the bad, you get the ugly, you get the praise when you're winning, and you get all the blame when you're losing. So I think you have to be even keel, and you got to kind of stay in the middle. You can't let your highs get too high or your lows get too low. But I'll be lying if I say, I seen a post or something that hurt my feelings, or said some things that I knew
Yeah.
weren't
You're
true.
human.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta deal with that stuff, man. You gotta keep moving. You gotta move forward. You can't get caught in your
Yep.
feelings.
For sure, for sure. Coach, let me ask you before we hit our concluding segment. What do you look at as kind of the next step for your program? You've talked about a few times how you're on the process. You're still building, and things aren't maybe exactly where you want them to be at. So as you're
Yep.
thinking about going into the summer, going into next year, what are you looking to build upon? What are you looking to improve? Like what do you see as your next steps now for your program, culture wise?
So I'll go team first, and I'll go individually for
Mm-hmm.
myself. But Camden County is a unique area. It's a 7A school, so that's the highest classification in Georgia. But there's only one high school in town, so I think Camden County can be a national powerhouse, and that's my I guess that's my big goal, is to turn this basketball program into a national powerhouse. And you might say, okay, coach, what does that look like? I coached rec ball this year. I coached my son's rec team. I've been meeting with my middle school coaches. We've been talking to some of these AAU teams and trying to get one system. Offensively, this is our base. Everybody needs to be able, from rec ball all the way up to middle school. Everybody needs to be doing this base stuff. And then when they get to high school, we'll kind of, because I'm big on, I maybe have 3 plays, but I got 10 formations. So I'm big on
Mm-hmm.
keeping it simple, but having more formations, a couple quick hitters. But I want Camden County to turn into a national program, basketball wise. And I think we have the athletes to do it. It's just going to take some work and some guidance. So that's kind of my big team thing, turning Camden County basketball into a national brand name. And just for myself, I'm a football guy. I played college football. I played high school basketball, but I think that's why I love coaching basketball so much, because I have to really work hard. Football came
Mm-hmm.
natural, coaching football came natural, but basketball is something, it didn't come natural to me. So just, I think I'm very good on the defensive end. Like, we play man to man. We play zone a little bit, but we try to man team. We try to play 94 feet, get up in you, heavy midline, heavy gap. But on the offensive side, I want to be better offensively. I spend a lot of time studying, and so just trying to find a balance of not doing too much, but also not doing too little. I've been
Yeah.
studying. Yeah. We do a lot of stuff from Gonzaga. I think Mark Few. I love what he does. So, but also the last couple of years, just watching UConn, and especially this year how they ran through the tournament. So just kind of breaking down some of their offensive sets, and they do a lot of continuity, and UConn looks like they're doing a lot. but their base offense is their base offense, and so they have a lot of different, they have a lot of different formations, but they
Yeah,
only
things
got
that
a
go out of
couple.
it. Hmm.
Yeah, but they only got a couple of base plays, and so trying to adapt some of those things and trying to become better offensively, like and trying to put my kids in positions, like you said, to win those one-on-one matchups. So I think my long-term goal for my team is just to become a national powerhouse, but my short-term goal is just to become more efficient on offense and be able to, score when we need to score, man, and just be more efficient on offense.
Awesome, Coach. Appreciate that reflections. Great goals to have. I'm with you on a lot of those for sure. To wrap up, Coach, couple of questions I ask every guest here to wrap up.
Yep.
Start with this first one. You've shared quite a few, so hopefully you got another that you're willing to share. But thinking
So
back on your coaching career, what is a moment from your coaching career that you went through, that you experienced, that you think by sharing it, our listeners would be able to learn from?
uh just losing that state championship game.
Mm,
And that I got a picture where we're watching the other team hold up the trophy, and somebody got a picture of me just watching them. And I'll never forget that moment. And that's what drives me every night, because I mean, we got there. We got to the pinnacle. We worked hard. We game planned. We were up the entire game, and we lost the game in the last 2 minutes. And so I just think you never get over that. I bringing that up, I have a sick feeling, but I think it's just motivation, and just to never stop fighting and never stop, because I have people all the time to say, man, would you have rather just not got there? And I can honestly say sometimes I rather just not got there, and it felt like that. But that experience, man, of just, because I feel like in that game the moment became too big. I'm big
mm,
on just compartmentalizing, but I mean, I remember walking in that Coliseum, man, and like seeing myself on screen, and my assistant coach like slapping my leg, like, "Hey, man, call a play," because I was just watching the game like I was at home, and just letting that moment get too big for me, man, and just kind of I just remember it like we got lost going in the tunnel, like it was just so
right.
overwhelming, and so just it was a great experience, man, and I just Lord willing, man, I pray that the Lord get me back in there, and I'll be better, but I just think just learning from like that, like up until this point, that was the biggest failure of my career. And just learning, I became a better coach from that failure, because I've done a couple of things differently since that loss. And so, man, just learning from failure, man. If I had to say anything, just losing that state championship game and, hitting a low moment. I remember just going in that back hallway and just crying, man, just crying. And my coach coming to get me like, man, get up. You know what I'm saying? So just learning, just going through that, man. Definitely.
It's it's crazy to think though, like where um you might have been as a coach had you won that game, right? You kind of talked about how much you grew and how much that experience
Yeah.
made you into a better coach, and it's interesting to kind of think about like you if you win that game, what does change with you as a coach? Do you make all the changes? Do you make the growth that you have, or you didn't? And it's just you never know because the situation didn't happen. But I think what you took from that though is like it's something that you live with. It's something that you said still get that sick feeling from, but you used it as a motivation tool to make you into keep working to become a better coach.
Yes, man. Just learn from everything. Like I remember my son he was the number one 10-year-old in Georgia at one point. And
Hmm.
so I was coaching his rec team, and I won a state championship with him a couple of years ago. But the year before we won it, we lost, like we got beat like 64-2. And the team, they just boxed and won them and pressed them, and we couldn't get the ball up the court. And I just remember, like, I'm a high school coach and it's a fifth grade game, and I scored 2 points. And I just remember, like, that failure drove me to be like, I won a state championship with him the next year, but just that failure. So I mean, I encourage all coaches, man, coach as much ball as you can. Like, I learned more from coaching my son rec league team than I do coaching any high school game, because
Yeah.
just coach as much ball as you can. Like, I coached at the middle school level, I coached at the elementary level, I've coached at the high school level. I've helped coach younger AAU ball. So just watch as much ball, learn as much ball. Like, I love watching women college basketball now, man. Just learn the
Yeah.
game, man, and learn to fail. Like, get used to failure, because that's when you grow. You don't grow in the winning, man. You grow in the losing. So
Yeah. Yeah. What you get out of losses, I mean that's big. That's big for sure. A lot of growth from there. Coach, to wrap up, I kind of give every guest what I call kind of a 60-second soapbox. I kind of feel bad.
Yeah.
You did such a good job talking right now, but I'm not going to time you. Go over 60 seconds if you want, but I want to give you kind of this final platform to kind of get out kind of a final thought, a closing message, a final idea, anything that you want to leave the listeners with, basketball, coaching, otherwise.
Yeah.
So very open-ended, Coach, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor for your soapbox and go ahead and take it from here.
Well, you gave me the floor, so I'm going to say it, man. But first and foremost, man, I just want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, I'm nothing, and he's everything to me. I don't get on the court before I pray. He saved me. He's changed me. I'm not perfect. And for anybody listening, you don't have to be perfect. God can use you just how you are. I mean, I'm a football player who wasn't that good, who he's turned and kind of turned me into just be a basketball coach who he uses for him. And you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. But if you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, man, get one. And make sure you leave that on there. Don't take that out. But secondly, man, just what's your passion, man? Like, just basketball is my passion, and I never wanted to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a coach. I wanted to go play professional football. I worked out for the Atlanta Falcons. I was a really good running back, but I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus, and I ended up working at Steak and Shake. So, I mean, what's your passion, man? And you never really know what your passion is. And I thank God that I did make the NFL team, that I did end up tearing my ACL, and I did end up at Steak and Shake, because I never would have found basketball. And I never would have found the love for the game. And now I get a chance to impact young men's lives every single day. And I don't think I could have had that same impact as an NFL player that I am now as a coach, because every year I'm touching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, and those kids are touching other people. And I mean, just be present in the moment. I don't know what you're fighting for. I don't know what you're believing for, but don't quit. Keep going, keep pushing. If I could tell you right now that I would be a coach who coached in the state championship game 10 years ago, people probably laugh at me. So don't give up. Whatever you're passionate about, work on your craft, pray, give it to the Lord, compete. People are going to tell you what you're not. People are going to tell you what you can't do. Never believe that stuff, man. Be passionate, work harder than anybody else, work as hard as you can, give the rest to the Lord, man, and just have fun. I mean, I have fun every single day. There's a lot of areas in which I want to fix. I got to fix. It's not what I say, it's how I say it sometimes. I don't cuss. I don't do any of that stuff. I don't believe in that. But I do think sometimes I can take kids' confidence by just how I jump on them. So let kids make mistakes. Let them be comfortable making mistakes. But just hold yourself to the same standard you hold your kids, man, and just have fun. Just have fun. And that's it. I think that was more than 60 seconds. But
No, but that was great. That was really well said. And don't worry, I'm not cutting any of it. So you're all good, Coach. I appreciate it. This was great. Gave me a lot to reflect on. I wrote down a lot and a lot of things for me to think about. You gave a lot for our listeners as well. And man, I'm just excited to continue to follow your journey. I'm really excited to see where this next year goes and where your culture continues to take you and your program, and the success, both on and off the court that you're going to have with your program. So Coach Bailey, really appreciate you coming on. Best of luck, and hope it's a great year next year and all the years going forward.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, man. Just one last thing, the 1%, man. Don't be afraid to be the 1%. You know what I'm saying? Just write that down. Don't be afraid to be the 1%. Because there's a 99% out there who are be the 1% who does something different. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the championship level stuff comes from. But thank you for having me, man. This was fun. Definitely was fun.
Appreciate it, Coach. Appreciate all of you for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.